Good afternoon, everyone. Well, it took longer than I personally expected, but we finally have our I-named storm in the Atlantic, and there are some possible impacts for the Jacksonville area. So I'll detail some of those in this video, but first off, it's a joke in the meteorology community. The name of this storm is absolutely horrendous. I'm gonna give it an attempt here. Isaias. You heard me right. It's very unpleasant to say. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to be referring it as Tropical Storm E. It just rolls off the tongue much easier than Isaias and having to say that over and over and over again. Now, into the video. Isaias is a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm. Now, it's kind of had tropical storm wind characteristics, at least for the last few days. It's been called a potential tropical cyclone rather than a tropical depression or an invest, due to the fact that it's had these tropical storm force winds. It just wasn't quite organized enough to really be classified as a tropical storm. It didn't have the full 360-degree wind field, but now it does. Therefore, it is now a tropical storm. It is moving northwest at 20 miles per hour, which is rather fast for a tropical system. Usually, they tend to move about, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sorry if the rain is interrupting any of the audio right now. It just started pouring outside, so that's ironic. This is a very large system. In fact, if I go to the main page for this, you can see the wind field for this system is just, you can see here, it's large. It's about 500 miles in diameter, which is very large. But that's also a hindrance to the storm. It's like the old adage of, a ballerina, right, or a dancer. When you spin, you pull your arms in, you spin faster. You leave them out, you spin slower. So hopefully the large diameter of the storm keeps it a little bit weaker. And there's also some other things that are going to impact how strong the storm gets. It's currently sitting right off the coast of the Dominican Republic, which is notoriously mountainous terrain, especially to the south end of the island. And what those tend to do is, once the storm passes over, it tends to disrupt the circulation of the storm, which in turn weakens it. So that's actually in the forecast. They expect it to be down to about a 45 mile per hour tropical storm by the end of the day once it moves over the island. But then once it gets past that, there's really nothing to hinder it. The Bahamas aren't overly elevated. There's a lot of warm water out there. So it should re-strengthen back up to at least tropical storm status. They're not predicting a hurricane at this point. That's important to note. They are not predicting a hurricane at this point in time. Now, tropical storm can still do significant damage to certain places, especially with storm surge and, sustained winds are sustained winds. 60 mile per hour, 74 mile per hour. Aren't all that different in the grand scheme of things. Now, one thing there is to note is that the track of this storm, I can give you an example here, has shifted so much. Before, when we first started getting advisories on this storm, we weren't entirely sure on where the actual center of it was. There were kind of two concurrent low-level center areas, and that kind of threw off the models because they weren't sure which one was really going to win. It seemed like the northern one won, hence why you can see here, if you jump into the models, you see this west trend in the model, right, going south of Florida, possibly into the Gulf. But then once that northern circulation formed, guess what? You complete shift to the east. And that's just due to the track of the storm. And also, I'll show you in the models, they're expecting a trough to come down here and sort of take the storm with it. Now, the timing and the strength of that trough is key to where this storm goes. Lately, the models have been showing a eastward trend, which is good for Florida. It keeps it off the coast, but they're showing an eastward trend in the path of this storm. Even in the last three, places like Tampa used to be in the cone. The cone used to be out here, and now it's bending more to the east. Jacksonville, Orlando, and Miami are still in the cone, but the center of the cone, which the center of the cone means absolutely nothing, but it is off the coast. Back to that point. The center of the cone in itself is pointless. right? Well, it's not pointless, right? It's a prediction of where the actual center of the storm, not the impacts of the storm, the actual center could go. So if the center, is all the way out here, I don't know why I use blue here. Let me use a different color. If the center is all the way out here, right, then you're going to get more impacts in this area. But if the center comes more here, right, you're going to get more impacts here. Impacts can extend outside of the cone, especially with a storm as large as Tropical Storm E, right? It's 500 miles in diameter. That's across that cone. So you could get impacts even if you're outside of the cone. You just won't get the worst of the impacts. So hopefully for us, this thing tracks more along here and stays on the eastern side of this cone, because that would lessen our impacts here, namely storm surge, wind, rainfall. All of that would be lessened. However, if it tracks more to the west, right, that puts that the center of the storm, which tends to be the stronger part of the storm, near us, raises the chance for storm surge, raises the chances for wind, raises the chance for tornadic potential, and raises the rainfall rates. So really, anyway, we can get impacts even if this thing stays off the coast. The good thing for us currently is that the models are showing a trend to the east. Hopefully that continues. Hopefully it just doesn't make land interaction in the United States at all. Puerto Rico has been getting drenched by rain lately. It should be to the west of Puerto Rico now, nearing the southern end of the Dominican Republic. But other than that, it really hasn't had too much land interaction. Like I said before, the Dominican Republic might tear up the storm and weaken it significantly. Maybe not significantly, but definitely weaken it. And that'll take it more time to re-strengthen once it gets past that. So hopefully, even if it does get here, like I said, they're not predicting a hurricane, but I'm not going to rule it out just based on how warm the water is, right? But right now, they're only predicting a tropical storm, which is good. However, like I said, tropical storms can still bring very similar impacts to hurricane, namely storm surge, tropical potential, and rainfall. It's all the same. The 10 mile per hour, 15 mile per hour difference doesn't do you a whole lot of good in that case. So real quick, I do want to jump over to the models and show you guys what is happening with them. So we're going to take a look at the GFS. This is looking 6 hours into the future. You see, the GFS wants to take, oh, what happened there? The GFS wants to take Tropical Storm E into a more northern track over the Dominican Republic, which would keep it a little bit stronger than if it went south. But that also would make me believe that it would want to take it more on eastward trajectory too. So we'll see what happens as we go forward in time here. You see it weakens. You see the central pressure, right? If it goes down farther into the 990s, it's strengthening. If it goes back into the thousands, it's weakening. So you can see after the land interaction, it goes from 999 to 1001. So it weakens, right? But then once you get back over the open water, it starts to strengthen again. The GFS doesn't really have it strengthening very, very much, which is a good thing, right? Well, once it gets to the real warm part of the Gulf Stream, then it starts, as you can see, starts to strengthen. I'm sorry this view isn't great. For some reason, the layout for the tropical sector isn't great. But Jacksonville is located right about here. So keep that in mind. Miami here, Cape Canaveral here, Orlando here. So we move forward in time more. You see, it's kind of taking a very similar path to the hurricane last year that stalled out over the Bahamas, except this one probably shouldn't stall out. Hopefully it does not stall out. That is, a stalling hurricane is absolutely catastrophic in terms of rainfall potential. So as you can see, it kind of moves the coast, very similar to Hurricane Matthew. Actually, that's probably a better comparison for this, is the path of Hurricane Matthew a few years ago, except I think this one, according to this, remains about 100, 200 miles off the coast, which is good. That's a little not as far east as I expected to take it because it goes so close to the coast here. Yeah, I would say that this is very similar to Hurricane Matthew. Again, not nearly as strong. It's not a hurricane. The impacts won't be nearly as great. as long as it stays that way, right? But path-wise, it's very similar to Hurricane Matthew, maybe a little bit farther to the east, which is good for us. Wow, the GFS really has some strong intensification there once it gets to northeast Florida. On the coast, if it stays off the coast, it will strengthen. There's a lot of warm water there. But if I'm anywhere in Georgia, South Carolina, wow, the Outer Banks, yeah. Granted, this is a long way out. What you're seeing, this is 84 hours into the future, right? There's so many things that can change in those 84 hours, and I'm guaranteeing the path of this storm will change to the west or to the east more than once in the next 84 hours. I would not be surprised if at some point the cone shifts back to the west and then shifts back to the east. It happens all the time. There's a lot of uncertainty with these systems. There's so many environmental factors that go into it. You cannot really fully accurately prepare for where the storm's going to go that far out. We're getting better at it. We're more accurate than we were 10 years ago, but we're still not completely accurate. So, like I said, this looks like it would have it intensifying into a hurricane and then hitting North Carolina, the Outer Banks area. Again, this is so far out. We're going to have to see what the Euro has to say about this. I personally, again, I've said it multiple times on these videos, I trust the Euro more than GFS, although the GFS hasn't performed terribly this year. I'll give it that. Go tropical. We might have to wait a few frames here. Oh, this is a terrible angle. Excuse me 1 minute, folks. The GFS, the Euro, does not like give me very many good location options. So we're going to go to the southeast. We'll scroll down here. So you'll see it once it gets to Florida. It's really hard to tell what it's going to do before that. Okay, so here it comes right here. This is a very weak system. Oh my, wow. The Euro really has this thing getting shredded apart. And then kind of just... That's interesting to note. That's completely different from the GFS. So right here, here's an example of the uncertainty, right? The GFS had, a moderately strong tropical storm coming up the Florida coast, intensifying into a hurricane, right? The European has just this big mess of I mean, that's the only way to describe it. You see, there's some attempt to re-intensify in the Gulf. This is just a mess. Oh man, that's interesting. Let me see if I can get a different view to see what it does. Farther to the south, because that is absolutely... Let's see here. Let's see, it comes north. It looks like, just judging by the trajectory... I wish these ads would stop popping up. Just judging by the trajectory down here, it looks like it has it taking a more southern course through the more mountainous region of the Dominican Republic, which is, a death blow to most tropical systems. However, it's worth noting that this European model is older than the GFS. So once a new run of the European comes in, there could be new data that comes in and changes with it. But right now, it's worth noting that there's a very wide range of disagreement with where the storm's going to go and how strong it's going to be. You're going to have moderate tropical storm versus big mess of rain, right? That's what it comes down to right now with this. Again, that could be due to because of the model's older. But yeah, that's just kind of... yeah, that's not... That's a good 2-3 days of just absolutely nothing but torrential rainfall. Not torrential rainfall, but constant rainfall there. So with the GFS's solution, it's a day or two of tropical bands, right, coming on shore, possibly some storm surge. Here, it's rain, and more rain, and more rain after that. That's what the European is indicating to me, with this run at least. So, two vastly different solutions from two different models that I trust, which Welcome to the field of meteorology, folks. That's what we deal with every single day. And that's really been the tendency of this storm. It's ironic that the European and GFS disagree so much on this when they've actually agreed fairly similarly for most of this hurricane season. But this storm has just been so, what's it going to do? Is it going to go here? Is it going to go here? Is the southern one going to intensify? Is the northern one going to intensify? It's a big mess. So real quick, I do want to take you guys over to the local radar. And as you can see here, we have some rain bands moving through. Not rain bands, just showers. These are not tropical related at all. Tropical Storm E is way too far to the south to have any impact on us right now. These are just some rain bands. Like I said earlier, it did pour a little bit earlier here. But these should continue off to the east throughout the day. So some places should get rain. Actually, looking at this, most of northeast Florida should get some amount of rain today. Doesn't look like they're very thunderstorm-like, mostly just showers and rain. Other than that, these aren't offering too much in the way of thunderstorm potential. So, but what I really wanted to do is jump down to the Puerto Rican radar, if I can. Oh, I did not mean to do that. We can jump down to the Puerto Rican radar, hopefully. Do I have to go? Okay, yeah. I have to go to sites. Let's see if I can find it. I tend to miss it on here. PR. Here we go. The Puerto Rican radar. Let's see if we can see any. Here we go. This is Tropical Storm E. If I can probably load some of the old data in here, and you can see the rotation signature. Puerto Rico isn't a great place to have a radar. There's a lot of mountains, and it disrupts the radar beam, so you don't get a lot of coverage in a lot of areas. So that's why you see some of this weird sort of bleh. It's just because the radar beam just isn't being picked up 100%. There you can see clearly the center is somewhere over here, right? So, and it looks to be moving off in this direction. You can see the wind shift here. I have the wind barbs pulled up in the Dominican Republic, but you can see these torrential rain bands just flowing into Puerto Rico. That's why a bunch of spots on the island are under flash flood warnings due to the mountainous region and the torrential rainfall. You're going to get possibly some landslides. A lot of rainfall though. But this is Tropical Storm E as it moves off to the northwest. I don't really have too much more to add here, folks. Once I get more certainty, and maybe I'll release another video later today, once the new run of the European comes out to see if it agrees or disagrees with the GFS. But for now, just keep your eyes peeled on the news, keep your eyes peeled on this channel. Remember, it is only currently forecasted to be a tropical storm at this point. It is not worth panic buying. Make sure you do have your water though. Water, bread, milk, whatever, non-perishable food. Just stay calm. We'll have to see how this system evolves in the coming days. It's expected to be in our area Sunday night into Monday. We could start seeing some effects maybe Saturday, but they won't be very strong effects, if any. Just like I said, stay calm, watch the news, watch this page. I will release more videos, and I will catch you guys next time.